All right, let's talk about one of the biggest shakeups in the financial world today, DeFi, which stands for Decentralized Finance. It's this incredible technology that's promising to basically tear down and rebuild our entire financial system. But it's also a world that is just packed with risk. So we're going to look at both sides of this financial revolution. First up, a little fun fact that really sets the stage perfectly. So we call it DeFi for decentralized finance, right? But it sounds exactly like the French word défi, which means a challenge. And honestly, that's the perfect word for it. This whole thing is a direct challenge to the financial world as we've always known it. So that really brings us to the core question we're trying to unpack here. Is DeFi the answer? Is it the key to a financial future that's more open and more efficient for everybody? Or is it a challenge that's just, too wild, too risky, too much, too soon to actually work? Let's dig in. To really get what DeFi is all about, we've got to compare it to the system that we're all stuck with every day, traditional finance, or as people in the space call it, TradFi. It's really a story of the old way versus the new way. Okay, so this table really lays out the whole argument for DeFi. In the old world of TradFi, you've got these huge institutions, banks, right, calling all the shots. They're the gatekeepers. And that means getting access can be tough, things move slowly. I mean, who hasn't waited days for a simple transfer to clear? And the fees, well, they can be pretty high. DeFi just flips that whole model on its head. It's built on a network that no single person owns. It's open to literally anyone with an internet connection. It's always on, 24/7. And the whole point is to get rid of those expensive middlemen. So how in the world does DeFi pull this off? Well, the secret sauce is a technology called the blockchain. The easiest way to think of it is like a shared digital notebook that's super, super secure. Every transaction is a new line item written down in what's called a block. These blocks then get linked together, forming a chain. And because this notebook is copied and shared across thousands of computers, everyone can see it, and it's almost impossible to go back and secretly change something. It creates trust, but without needing a bank to be in the middle of everything. And that brings us to the next piece of the puzzle, smart contracts. If the blockchain is the secure notebook, you can think of smart contracts as the automated rules for that notebook. The classic analogy, and it's a great one, is a vending machine. You put in your dollar, you press the button for a soda, and the machine automatically gives you that soda. There's no person to argue with, no negotiation. It just does what it's programmed to do. In DeFi, a smart contract can do the same thing for, say, a loan, automatically releasing the funds when the rules are met, all without a single human getting involved. So when you put all this technology together, what you get is the promise of a full-blown revolution, a global, open alternative to a financial system that, let's be honest, can feel pretty closed off and clunky. And make no mistake, this isn't some tiny little experiment happening in a garage somewhere. We are talking about a market with $77 billion locked into it. That's the scale we're looking at here. That number alone shows you just how seriously people are taking this promise. So, what does this big promise actually look like for you and me? Well, it's about giving financial services to people who can't get a bank account. It's about getting rid of a lot of those fees by cutting out the middlemen we've been talking about. It's about a crazy level of transparency where pretty much anyone can check the transactions. But most of all, it's about giving you, the individual, way more control over your own money. And all of this creates an environment where amazing financial innovation can happen, stuff we can't even imagine yet. But, and this is a big but, this is where our story has to take a sharp turn. Because for all of its incredible, world-changing promise, DeFi is also kind of the digital Wild West. And revolutions, well, they're never neat and tidy. I think this quote from MIT professor Antoinette Shore just hits the nail on the head. It's a nice idea, this perfectly fair financial system for everyone, but the reality is always messier. Just because the tech is decentralized doesn't magically mean that power and money get spread out evenly. And if you want to see the risk in cold, hard numbers, here it is. In a single year, 2021, more than $10 billion just disappeared, gone, lost to scams and hacks in the DeFi space. That is a jaw-dropping number, and it's a brutal reminder of just how fragile this new frontier can be. These huge losses aren't just bad luck. They come from some really serious challenges. The code in those smart contracts can have bugs that hackers can exploit. Governments are still trying to figure out what the rules should be, which leaves users in this weird, risky gray zone. And that whole idea of everyone voting on decisions, it can be chaotic and super slow. But maybe the most troubling problem is that the system itself isn't always fair. Okay, so this leads us to a concept that's a bit complicated, but it's so important to understand. It's called Maximal Extractable Value, or MEV. Basically, because some powerful players can see transactions before they're officially confirmed, they can sneak their own trades in first to make a profit. It's kind of like if a stockbroker saw you were about to buy a ton of some stock, so they quickly buy it a millisecond before you do to push the price up, and then they sell it to you at that higher price. It's a way for insiders to pull money right out of the pockets of everyday users. So much for that level playing field, right? This image really captures the whole tension at the heart of DeFi, doesn't it? On one side, you have this bright, shiny promise of innovation, all these new assets and tools. But looming over it all is this dark shadow of risk, and you can just feel the regulators getting ready to step in. So, where does that leave us? We have this amazing revolution that's also full of danger. Maybe the future isn't a total takeover by one side or the other. Maybe it's something totally different, a fusion of the old and the new. And what's happening right now is pretty wild. This DeFi revolution, which started as this anti-establishment thing, is now being embraced by the very companies it was supposed to replace. The biggest names in traditional finance, they're not just watching anymore, they're building. And this is not just talk. Look at the actual players. You've got BlackRock, the biggest asset manager on the planet. They have a fund that puts super safe things like US Treasury bonds on the blockchain, so you can move them around anytime, day or night. You've got Franklin Templeton doing similar things with money market funds. And then you have the real giants, like Citigroup and Goldman Sachs, all running their own projects to create new digital products. The establishment has arrived. And if you need proof that this is serious, just look at the growth of that BlackRock fund. It went from about 600 million to almost 1.9 billion in just a year. That chart shows you exactly how fast the big money is pouring in. This isn't a trend, it's a tidal wave.
So what it all seems to be pointing to is a future that isn't really DeFi against TradFi. It's probably going to be a hybrid, a world that tries to take the best of both, the trust and stability of the old system with the speed, access, and innovation of the new one. Which leads us with the big final question. As these two massive worlds, the old guard of finance and the new decentralized revolution, start to blend together, what is our financial system even going to look like? And maybe more importantly, what is this merger of stability and chaos going to mean for you and for your money?
Stay ahead in the crypto market. Subscribe now for the latest global news and updates.